What's up, y'all? Thanks so much for clicking on the video. My name is Leah, and let's recap and review Real Housewives of New Jersey. This is season 13, episode 14. So let's get into it. Before we get into the review, you guys, we gonna get a little spicy because a lot of things came out in the after show that I want to talk about. Normally, I don't pay attention to any of the after shows. I did like maybe season 12 of Atlanta, or was it 13? The one before Portia quit, I remember watching that after show when they were doing things on Zoom. And even for Potomac, I was watching that after show when it was on Zoom. But after a while, I got like overwhelmed in the sense of like it was too much saturation of these ladies that I was just like, when it came time to the reunion, I wasn't really that invested because I'm like, y'all kind of are talking about the same thing and it's redundant at this point. But there was 3 things that came out in the after show that I want to talk about. So we're going to start from small to biggest. And one thing we're going to talk about is Jackie's comments about Dolores and how I think that might be straining to their relationship going forward.
Independent because she needed to be, or because like she wanted to be. Like, I think she was independent because she had no choice. No one was making her dependent. Like, no one was wrapping her up in their arms and saying, you're mine. Like, Frank wasn't doing that.
We're in it together, no matter what it is.
That's a deal. Partner. All right?
Okay, all right.
And ex-wife.
And David didn't do that.
And I don't demand the commitment that I thought that I needed.
We're done.
All right, okay, goodbye.
Paulie's doing that now.
Yeah, Paulie's doing that now, and clearly she's into it. So is she really that independent, or did she have no choice? Was she?
So that was Jackie responding to the question about Dolores and Paulie's relationship, or just giving her thoughts on it. And I'm not gonna lie, Jennifer Fessler tickled me in this this sit down because she didn't want to say nothing bad. She even looked at Jackie like, I'm gonna let you say what you got to say, but I'm gonna keep it cute because I don't want no issues. But honestly, Jackie's response, it kind of set off my antennas. The thing about Jackie that I don't like is Jackie has this air of like superiority when it's like you're still on the same show as them and you don't really have much more from, like, you don't have that much to show for you to be this like, yeah. Like, she gives a know-it-all energy. Like, her response, I understood what she was saying. Like, is Dolores truly independent because she likes her independence and she craves that and that is what fulfills her in life? Or was she independent because she genuinely didn't have a choice because there was nobody lending her a helping hand? Because Jackie made it seem like because Dolores is taking on this whole like, oh, she's so happy to be a girlfriend energy, that she's really not this badass like she likes to pretend to be. So I feel like going forward, there might be issues with Jackie and Dolores, but I also feel like Jackie and Dolores have never bonded in a way that like Dolores would probably take what Jackie said to heart, but she probably got her good eye on her. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Margaret letting us know that Paulie's still married.
Want to be married to live together.
Yeah.
I don't have that. I don't have to do things
And you don't
like
have to get married, exactly. Like, whatever you want, whatever you guys want.
Right,
You just
like-
beat at your own drum.
As far as I know, Paulie's not divorced. I mean, I guess it's hard to get married if you're not divorced. Yeah, you could give rings. I guess that's why you can't get married if you're not divorced.
All right, y'all. So y'all just heard Dolores and Teresa in the beginning talking about whether or not Dolores is interested in getting like married and that's what she wants to do. And then at the end, you hear Margaret let us know that Paulie still is legally married. He might be separated, but he's still legally married. And I was like, Margaret, have they told us that on the show? Like, I legit, you guys, I was going back, like, filtering every episode in my mind when we had Paulie in it. And I was like, did anybody tell us that Paulie was, like, separated or going through a divorce right now? And I'm like, see, Margaret, this is why the people say you got an arsenal. Because I thought Dolores was your girl. Because why would you tell us that? Why would you drop that tea on us like that? I was like, ooh, girl. Ooh, girl. So my thing is like, if this is true, I don't understand why Dolores would even be with Paulie. Like, Paulie does seem like a nice guy, and even if someone doesn't want to get married, so like marriage isn't like a big thing to them, I would not want to be dating someone who hasn't taken the necessary steps to like sever all ties with their previous relationship. Like, and then depending on what state you're in, you could get sued for isn't it like emotional ideation or something like that? I know in North Carolina, I think you can sue like the other person. So like the side chick or the side dude or the mistress or whoever you're having an affair with, the person that is in the relationship that is getting cheated on can sue the other person, can sue the mistress or the affair partner. Either way, I don't want no parts of that, because you're not getting my coins because you couldn't do the right thing. So the last thing we're going to talk about is Rachel in this adoption storyline. I'm going to play the after show clip first, and then I'm going to read the article, and then I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. So, because it seems like there's something amiss with that.
We sat down with the adoption attorney, and she was basically just like, yeah, like, we'll serve her this many times, like legally, and if she answers, she can either fight it or give up her parental rights, and then we just move forward.
They have to serve your birth mother with papers. She could fight to not have me adopt you.
So the hardest part of it was like was serving his birth mother, because that is obviously like,
You have to catch her at the right time,
and like, we don't know where she is. So like, you have to find like the last known address and like all these like legalities of the adoption process. And then they finally served her, and we didn't hear anything.
and she had no problem with it.
She didn't. So she had, I think it was 30 days. She had to answer from the date she was served.
Wow.
And she never responded, which is so sad.
Which means that you automatically win. Oh my God. That's sad.
Yeah. Time.
Y'all, so you heard the audio. Now I'm going to read the article, but I'm going to also put the link below because it gets into a lot of Brittany's past, who is Jaden's birth mom, as the reason why she does not have, I guess, sole custody or even joint custody of Jaden. So the article starts off like this. It says, up in arms, RHONJ star Rachel Fuda accused of using adoption of stepson 16 for pathetic storyline by furious mom. It says RHONJ fans witnessed newbie Rachel and her husband John Fuda visiting an attorney's office during Tuesday night's episode to discuss adopting her stepson Jaden 16. It says the teen's birth mom Brittany Marsha, y'all know me and names, who is currently serving prison time at a halfway house in New Jersey, is now speaking out for the second time after claiming to the U.S. Sun last month that her ex John banned her from seeing Jaden. When asked if she responded to the adoption papers that were served to her prior to the episode, she had 45 days to respond. Brittany exclusively told the U.S. Sun, "I never received an adoption request. I never heard anything about it." She also says she has no idea where the papers were served and what is the status of the adoption. If she signs off on them, she would legally terminate her rights to Jaden's rights as Jaden's mother, which is something she does not want. She even told the U.S. Sun that she plans on hiring an attorney once she gets out of prison. Brittany, 35, went on to say the adoption storyline is a poor, pathetic excuse of a storyline and thinks their plot is boring as hell. "If I had nothing to do with this situation, I would be watching this show thinking how lame she is, completely disregarding Jaden's personal life and feelings and taking shots at me to make her look like a knight in shining armor of her stepmother," Brittany told the U.S. Sun exclusively after watching May 2nd's episode in the halfway house. Brittany and John dated for 4 months and were engaged for 2 of those years before they broke up in 2009. The Fuda managers was officially granted sole custody of Jaden in June of 2011 by a New Jersey judge, the U.S. Sun reported. Brittany claimed she still saw her son periodically up until 2017 before her last major arrest. The former bartender stands by her claims that she was cut off by John from her son visiting her in the halfway house. John cut contact with me and my entire family, even Jaden's little brother, for the purpose of making Rachel his mom, Brittany alleges. I never abandoned Jaden. John made it impossible for me to see or reach him. It was the only way he knew how he could hurt me. She claims I was just completely shocked to see how the truth has been twisted so far beyond from what actually happened, and that it made me sad to know Jaden has been lied to for the last 7 years, and that I have wanted to be in his life and nothing other than that since day one. The U.S. Sun has reached out to Bravo and the Fuda family for comment. While Rachel, 31, and John, 35, visit the office of the adoption agency, Deborah E. Gaston, the Real Housewives star, shared details of Jaden's childhood and explained why she took over as the mother figure. In my opinion, he didn't have a normal childhood. He had a mom that was not around him, Rachel told the attorney. For him, it was a lot to process, and I really wanted to adopt him for a very long time. She added, adopting Jaden has always been something that I felt like it was missing for me personally. That was the article. I'm not going to say too much because we're going to get into it in the review, but I am conflicted. Because on one hand, I understand where she's coming from, especially if she does not want to sign her rights away. But I can also understand where Rachel and John are coming from, where it's like you haven't really been a part of his life for the past 7 years. So, like, what is it? You know what I mean? But I'm going to talk more about it in the review. So let's get into it. All right, y'all. So the episode opens up and we have a scene with Jennifer Fessler's, her mom, which we find out is an identical twin, going over to Marge's house to hang out with Marge Sr. And we, in the beginning, I'm not going to lie, I found Jennifer's mom and her aunt to be obnoxious and annoying as hell. They were doing too much for me and it was getting old. But once they calmed down and everyone was sitting at the dining room table or the dinner table, and they were able to have like a quiet kind of like calm down talk, it was nice. We find out that Jennifer Fessler's mom and Barbara Streisand used to run in the same circle, so they used to be real close back in the day. We also get a backstory about Jennifer Fessler's life, how her parents were very much opposites. Her mom's like an extrovert and a free spirit, and then her dad is like very serious and introverted. She also spoke about how they moved around a lot after her parents got a divorce. She was like, it was more marriages than more divorces. She also talks about how her aunt is like her mom to her as well, like her second mom, and how her cousins are like her sisters because her mom ended up having 2 kids, which is Jennifer and her sister, but then her aunt also had 2 kids, and she was like, those are my cousins. They then get on the topic of Margaret and Joe. Margaret tried to cutely say, like, we left our partners for each other. Girl, y'all cheated on your partners for each other. Call it what it is. They then start talking about what happened in Ireland and how Margaret pretty much feels like Danielle is self-centered and she's used to everybody catering to her, and how it got annoying every time Danielle would make Teresa and Melissa's situation about herself. They then talk about how Teresa and Melissa are just at a point of no return. And Jennifer's mom and aunt pretty much was like, yeah, they might just need to cut ties and move on. We also find out that they're married. But yeah, it was like a nice scene to get more information about Jennifer Fessler. She's kind of growing on me. I feel like out of everybody on this show, especially with her being here, she is someone that is evenly neutral. Even though she's friends with Margaret, I can tell in interviews and even in the after shows and even when she does her confessionals that like she's not trying to rock the boat with anybody. Like she'll say what needs to be said, but ultimately she's kind of like even keel. Like she wants everything to be good. Then we have this scene with Polly, Dolores, Brittany, which is Frank's girlfriend, and Frank, and then their kids, little Frank, and I forgot their daughter's name. I think it's like Gabriella or Gabby. I think it's Gabby. But yeah, so pretty much they're at this nice restaurant, and Frank was doing too much to me. At this point, I'm tired of this storyline. Like I told y'all, it seems like in like real time, Frank and Polly seem to be good, but I get it. Frank is going through growing pains, and he has to understand that the dynamic between him and Dolores is shifting, because it don't seem like Paulie wants to be your brother husband, bro. He wants to be just him and Dolores. And like a lot of people have been saying, there's no need for them to mingle or blend families, because at the end of the day, Gabby and Frankie are like in their mid-20s. Like they're on the cusp of being in their 30s. There's no need to really blend the family. The only thing is like y'all should be able to be cordial so y'all can have these types of relationships, but there's no need for them to be in each other's business. Frank was just doing a lot. And if I was Brittany, I'd have went upside Frank's head, because you embarrassing me. Because it's giving the energy that you still want to be with her. And I don't even think Frank wants to be with Dolores. I just think he's having a hard time understanding that Dolores is setting a clear boundary. And with the help of Paulie, it's a boundary that's going to stay. And you just got to deal with it, bro. You just got to deal with it. So then we have a scene with Danielle and her mom, and it looked like they were pretty much going over like inventory in Danielle's story, Bougie Kids. But pretty much the mom starts to reminisce as she's looking at the kids' clothes about how she would dress up Danielle and her brother in the same outfits. And I used to hate that. It is something about parents about wanting they kids to match. And for me and my sister, we just had different variations of the same outfit. It was so annoying. It was so annoying. But my mom couldn't get enough of it, and neither could my grandma. Could not get enough of it. We had to have them outfits on. But she was just saying how, you know, when y'all were kids, y'all would fight each other so hard, but y'all would fight each other's battles. Like if someone would pick on Danielle, her brother had her, and vice versa. But Danielle was like, that's where it stopped. And then the mom is talking about how, you know, he doesn't want to fix it. You know, the dad is like in the middle, but he just doesn't want to fix it between us. Danielle also talks about how like she doesn't know her niece. He doesn't really know her kids anymore. And she was like, it's really bothering her that she doesn't have that relationship with her brother anymore. And honestly, we definitely know that there's more between them. But I'm kind of with what Danielle said. Like, we just gonna have to move on. And that's the truth. Like, no matter how much you would want to fix a relationship with someone, if they don't want to reciprocate it, you just have to move on from it, even though it may hurt. Even though it may be soul crushing, but if they don't want to have a relationship with you, then you can't keep fighting for it. And that also means that when that person wants to have that relationship with you, they have to understand that you created this divide. There's definitely more going on between Danielle and her mom, not Danielle, her mom and her brother. But at this point, you just gonna have to let it go. Also, I'm kind of over this storyline, and maybe I would be here for learning more about it if we didn't have an oversaturation with Teresa and her family storyline. If we didn't have that, I'd probably be okay with it. But at this point, I'm over it. So on to Rachel and John in the adoption story. So like I said, I have a lot more to say. And now that we're at this point, we're going to talk about it. I've learned a lot about adoption, and my opinion of adoption has definitely changed since getting on TikTok and actually looking at adoption stories from people who are I think it's adoptees. Is that what they're called? People who've been adopted. And these are people who are full-blown adults. Like people who are like in their 30s and in their 20s and even in their 40s, talking about the pros and cons about adoption. And the consensus normally is no one should be legally adopting anyone until a child can consent to it. And on the plus side of this story, Jaden is old enough to understand what adoption is and what he is going to benefit from being adopted. And he seems like he genuinely would like Rachel to adopt him. He sees Rachel as his mom. So I feel like in that regard, his wishes should be respected. But after reading the article, it does leave me with a sense of like a pausing sensation, because yes, Brittany, who is Jaden's mom, has not really been a part of his life for 7 years, but I don't think she should be pressured or forced into giving her rights away, because who says from now, like maybe 10 or 15 years from now, Jaden might be like, well, why did you give your rights away from me if you wanted to be in my life? He might see it as a bad thing. And if what she's saying or what she alleging is true, that John pretty much cut her off from being in contact with him, then she probably really doesn't want to sever ties with him in that way, because then that would really mean that she will never have the opportunity to reconcile with him. It's a touchy situation. It's a touchy, because Rachel has a right to want to do that, especially after asking Jaden and him being like, yeah, I'm cool with it, and him smiling about it and being happy. But also Brittany has the right to be like, no, I don't want to give up my child in that way, because I do want to build a relationship with him. So like she's saying, if she wants to get an attorney, she has a right to get an attorney. But I do think it's going to be a uphill battle for her, because if you haven't been in your child's life for 7 years and he's old enough to understand, he might not want that from you. As well as it might be an uphill battle for Rachel and John if it is actually true that John has been blocking Brittany's ability to have a relationship with her son. He might end up looking at his daddy and Rachel like they're the bad guys. So it's a touchy situation, like, all around. But ultimately, the person who should be centered in this conversation is Jaden, not Brittany and not Rachel, because at the end of the day, he is the one who gets the right to say, yes, adopt me. No, don't adopt me. So before I start talking about the Louie and Teresa scenes, I want to talk about Jennifer Aiden. I need Jennifer to let go of this Margaret storyline, or this trying to expose Margaret storyline, by the time we get to next season. I heard reading through articles that Margaret and Jennifer were actually able to squash their beef at the reunion, and I hope it stays, because I feel like if Margaret and Jennifer clicked up, they could run this show. They could run this show. But Jennifer is so stuck on trying to expose Margaret that it doesn't benefit her in any way. And like I keep saying, these women don't like you. They play you to the left every season, and each time you come like crawling back trying to be cool with them, and it's not helping you. The numbers are not in your favor. There are 6 women against you, Jennifer. That is Rachel, Margaret, Melissa, sometimes Dolores, Jennifer Fessler, and Jackie. All you have is Teresa and Danielle, and the people not really feeling Danielle like that. And Teresa can stand on her own because the network ain't gonna never get rid of her. So it's like, you have to learn to stand on your own, because a lot of fans that like you, Jennifer, have been moving away from you. A lot of people feel like you've been clicking down. They don't see it for you. And honestly, this season should have been you getting in Bill's ass. It should not have been about you trying to expose Margaret, because the way Bill has been treating you now that it's been exposed is not nice. It's not great. You've been pretty much you're subservient, and you look like a mattress and a mule to this man. And it doesn't benefit you in any way. So hopefully when you come back next season, you coming back anew. Please be a new girl. Please be a new, let go of this Margaret storyline and move accordingly. Just be fun. Be fun. Because when you're not talking and you getting side commentary and being goofy in the scenes, I'm all here for it. Because it's funny. Just be fun. And if the girls come at you, get on their neck. Get on it. I have this scene with Teresa and Louie where they're talking about the rehearsal dinner and how she asked for Joe and Melissa to come, but they didn't RSVP. And what's bothering me about that is, why would you expect them to RSVP to the rehearsal dinner? The only people that normally come to the rehearsal dinner are like your parents, because they're your parents. Other than that, you normally don't have people RSVP to rehearsal dinners or attend rehearsal dinners if they're not a part of the bridal party. That's weird to me. This whole scene made me cringe, and it just solidified that I feel like Louie is conning Teresa. Something about Louie is slimy. Like him doing all them theatrics, like pushing her phone on the table. I'd like, bro, if you would have cracked my phone, it would have been me and you. him being like, we're done with them. We're done with them. All the while, bro, we saw you say you didn't want to invite them. So I'm like, is this the party that you didn't want to invite them to, or that was a different dinner? Either way, why are you inviting them to the rehearsal dinner and they're not a part of your bridal party? Teresa keeps apologizing to him, which bothers me, and it makes my butt itch, because saying sorry 1 or 2 times is okay, but to constantly say sorry, it's like she's lessening herself from him. Like, she puts Louie on this pedestal like he is just this man among thieves. Then she talks about how, Joe Gorga, her ex-husband, reached out to Louie and told him, like, you let Joe be a part of your lives, he's gonna ruin it. Then Louie goes on and on about how, Joe is insecure. And I even told Joe, you could be the patriarch of this family. I think he just doesn't like that. Like, I just think he's uncomfortable and insecure. And like, Joe Giudice told me, like, don't let Joe ruin your marriage, because that's what happened. Teresa ends up saying, like, yeah, like, most of the fights that we had in my marriage that I had with Joe was about my brother. And I'm like, yeah, but your brother was also cheating on you, sis, and talking to you crazy and out of pocket. So I can understand the beefage. But it's just like Louie gives con artist tease, and I feel like Teresa is, in the next couple of years, is going to get conned. And it's going to suck. So the last thing we're going to talk about is Louie and Teresa. So they're getting ready for Paulie's Ireland Prohibition, like 1920s, 30s party. And as they're sitting down, Teresa was saying that she tried to get in contact with her brother, but he wasn't picking up. And she was like, it's never been to this point where we don't speak. And Louie is like, you know what? We done with them. Louie is like, you know what? I was done with them the moment they said that you were miserable. And he's like, they just don't want you to be happy. And your brother is a toxic individual. Melissa is a plague. Like, he was going off. He was saying how Melissa, Louie was going off, and I'm not gonna lie, y'all, it gave powder tease. Like, he kept getting up, getting down, like, he kept trying to fix the pillows. Like, he was going off. He was like, if I was in a snake pit, I know you would pull me out, and I'm pulling you out the snake pit, Teresa. I'm pulling you out the snake pit. Then he was talking about how, like, your brother's trash, he's toxic, he's a scum of the earth. Like, Louie was going off, and all the while, Teresa looked uncomfortable. She looked uncomfortable, and she looked defeated. Like, she was even saying she's never seen Louie this way. And honestly, I think that their family is done. I think Melissa says she's done and she don't want no parts of Teresa anymore, or Louie and Joe. I think Melissa is done, but Joe isn't done, because I've seen interviews of Joe saying family's never done. I saw that at Watch What Happens Live. I also saw that on another podcast that someone was talking about that they were on. So I think Melissa is officially done, because I also heard Melissa block Gia from social media. Teresa, I think, is done, because Louie is going to make sure that they're done, because Louie seems like he over that side of the family. And I just felt bad for Teresa. And I normally don't be feeling that bad for Teresa, because I feel like oftentimes Teresa is a cause of a lot of the drama in her life. But she just looked like a defeated child sitting on that chair. It looked like she wanted to, like, break down and cry, but she just looked defeated. But, if they're done, they're done. If they gonna come back for season 14, I hope this family drama is not it's over. I hope Melissa and Teresa deal with each other as co-workers and we move on from it. But yeah, y'all, that is it. That is all. Remember to be bravely authentic. And I'm out. Deuces.